What is one item men should stop buying immediately? Skinny jeans.
People should stop buying glossy leather shoes.
Beard versus clean shave. What looks attractive?
Certain colors like rust, mustard, burnt orange, or deep red. These are the colors that look really good on dark skinned people.
How do I build my wardrobe on a tight budget?
Capsule wardrobe doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have this basic white tee, you need to have a denim, you need to have a trouser.
I think that's a very popular search. People search, how do I look old money?
Yeah.
You're spending 2,000, 3,000 rupees. What are the accessories other than a watch that I can wear and look great?
Occasionally, if you can wear caps, a sling bag, a premium looking leather bag for your laptops.
Let's rank all the most popular brands in India. Let's start with Zudio.
So Zudio I would keep between decent and bad.
West Side.
West Side, good.
What do you think of clothing and belts which have like flashy like logos like Armani Exchange everywhere? AX.
Do you want me to speak as a designer? Or
Go for it. Whatever you think is best. How do I tell if this clothing item is high quality?
You can't really tell is when you shop online.
Have you seen the Sabyasachi Fort store in Mumbai? What's your favorite like actor that you think is the best dressed?
Ooh.
No one will tell you this, but first impression is the last impression. जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. And if you want to master your first impression, this is the best podcast you can watch. Hi everyone, I'm Ishan, and with me today I have Sindhu Sridhar. Sindhu is a men's personal stylist and also the founder of Sin Studio, which is her own clothing brand. But this podcast is all about personal styling. What are the right clothes to buy? How can you match the right clothes? How to present yourself efficiently? How to groom yourself better to make sure that you ace that first impression? People will take you seriously if you present yourself seriously. And this podcast will help you master that. Welcome to Limitless with Ishan, and I hope this helps.
Alright, hi everyone. I am today with Sindhu and we are talking all about personal style and fashion. Sindhu, how are you doing there?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Today we'll be talking a lot of things about how to pick the right clothing, how to create your own style. But I want to start with the most basic question, which is why does personal style matter? If someone is in school, in college, if someone is starting their job, why should they care about how they dress up and how they present themselves in the world?
My favorite question, because every time I speak about personal styling, whether it's on my reels or through the content that I share, a lot of people send me comments like, oh, I don't care about it. I'll dress the way that I want to, and how people treat me doesn't matter. Funny enough, but I'm speaking from my experience of designing and styling people over the years, that personal styling or how people treat you is completely dependent on how you show up. And how you show up has a way or like a power into how people can perceive you. So it completely depends on how you treat yourself, how you feel about yourself firstly, and what type of respect do you pay for yourself that you're willing to put effort into dressing up, presenting yourself, and showing up with authority, credibility, or trust. So it doesn't really matter if you're wearing expensive clothes or the type of brands and logos you're representing, but it's also about how you respect the people that you're meeting, the place that you're going to, and what is the reason you're trying to be there.
Yeah.
So all of these, then the easiest way to show how you feel internally is how you dress up and how you want other people to perceive you. And that's a sense of power that personal styling has.
Amazing. One question people were asking me a lot was, is it true that best fashion is confidence? How you walk, talk, and stand? So the body language aspect of it. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I feel like it's not that the minute you wear clothes, it will magically give you confidence. If the clothes, however, have a power to elevate or boost your confidence, but it doesn't necessarily create what doesn't exist. So confidence is something that comes from within, and clothes then act as a layer to then, portray yourself the way that you feel about yourself. So confidence then matters in the way that you carry your outfit, in the way that your body language is. It also, matters how you speak, communicate, and show your presence, right? So I think confidence is definitely a part of your outfit.
Yeah. And how do you think I can improve my body language to appear more confident? If I want to maybe go to a party, go to a networking event, maybe I'm giving a talk in front of a lot of people, how do I seem more confident by the way I'm presenting myself?
I feel like a lot of it has to do with how you feel in your skin. A lot of us have insecurities. It can be anything, body insecurity about your hair, beard, whatever, especially when it comes to men. But really understanding that using fashion as a tool to then use it as a personal development is a better way to see fashion or how you feel in your outfits than just thinking that, oh, I'm wearing this amazing outfit, but it doesn't look good on me. So you'd rather try and dress yourself in a way that, okay, this is a shirt that I always like, I feel confident in it, or this is the type of silhouette that I stick to, and then understanding that I already feel great in the way that I'm looking, to then exude that in the way that you carry yourself, in the way that you talk, sit, stand, and then speak to people. Also seeming more welcoming than feeling rigid and sloppy. So I think that's when body language is then very much correlated to style and personal development.
Yeah. This is a very big question, but what do you think is the biggest mistake you see men making today when they dress up? You can talk about the top 3, maybe.
Top 3, okay, awesome. So I would say the first thing is to blindly chase trends. I feel like a lot of wisdom comes from clarity. So understanding what really works for you and what doesn't then gives you an understanding whether am I going to blindly follow a trend? Am I blindly going to wear an animal print shirt just because it's trending, or does it truly represent me? So I feel like in that sense, don't just blindly follow trends. If it really represents you, then go for it. Otherwise, understanding what type of clothes you want to be wearing to create a sense of aura or energy that you want people to absorb from you is very important. Another thing that I feel like is the biggest mistake is not being curious. Not being curious enough to understand if let's say, for example, as a stylist, if I can give you an advice saying, this is your body type, wear this type of shirt and pant, instead of blindly taking my advice, I feel like the best thing to do is whenever you have some time, go try on different silhouettes, try on different patterns of shirts, fits, and even color combinations. And to then have that awareness of knowing what doesn't work and what works is something that clarity brings, and that clarity is very important if you're trying to build your personal style. Another most important thing that people ignore is grooming. So grooming is very important when how you can put your overall look together. People may not consciously pay attention to whether your nails are clean, your clothes are pressed, your beard is clean, or you have a fresh haircut. But all of this plays a huge role in how your overall outfit looks. And it also shows a subtle sense of, oh, this guy has put effort into, presenting himself today, or showing up clean, presentable, and stuff like that. So it's absolutely important.
Very cool. You talked a bit about like silhouettes and other topics. We'll touch more on that later. But you style a lot of people. You work with a lot of people to help them discover their personal style. What do you think is the first thing I should fix? Any person should fix. So for example, if there's clothes, grooming, or body language, what is the first thing I should be fixing when I want to improve my style?
Okay, awesome. I think this is the order I would go with. Body language, clothes, then grooming. Body language, of course, because it's very related to how confident you are within yourself, how confident you are about the way you look, the way you present yourself, and all of that. So if your body language, your posture, the way you sit, speak, walk around, all of that is already in place. Clothes then add as an additional layer to then enhance how you're feeling internally. And then comes grooming, which gives you the final finishing touches to put everything together and make you look more cohesive and put together.
I think I was reading a reel, I was watching a reel which said that the difference between a man who just has all the right pieces, the trending pieces, but that man probably doesn't have that confidence inside of him, versus someone who dresses and then owns it, is comfortable and is confident in the way that he's dressing. These are two separate men, and the difference is all about the way he carries himself.
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot of people misunderstand the difference between a fashion and style. If you're constantly chasing trends, of course, we do get inspired by celebrities, influencers, and what people that we look up to wear, and we want to recreate those looks. So you might be able to afford like Michael Kors or LV or whatever brands that you prefer, and you might be able to be somebody that can put these looks together very quickly as soon as it's in trend, and then assume that you're stylish. But here's a thin line. Style then becomes who you are. It's an extension of who you want to be, and like where you're headed in terms of the direction or how you want to be perceived, right? So you don't necessarily have to be wearing labels and what's in trend to showcase who you are,
Right.
rather than, so if you're somebody who's wearing, you know, brands and labels and always being on top of the trends, you're definitely fashionable. But if you're somebody who knows what works for you, you probably have a signature look that is repetitive. People have known, maybe for example, people know you because of these chunky shades that you wear, right?
Yeah,
So that's your
yeah.
signature. People remember you for those things. So that's your style. So that's not necessarily influenced by fashion.
Timeless. It's timeless. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. So now let's go on and talk about how to build a minimal wardrobe. Now, guys, if you can see at the background, that's what my wardrobe looks like. That's just the part of it.
Yeah.
But there are a few essentials which you need to master if you want to build a great wardrobe. And we'll be talking a lot about that in the coming few questions. The first question is, let's say if someone wants to have 10 to 15 items, right? What should they be buying to build their capsule wardrobe?
Okay.
And what is a capsule wardrobe?
Interesting. Okay, so we've been hearing a lot of people use the word capsule, but I think the word capsule is slightly limiting, because what happens is I treat fashion as a playground. So if it's a playground and if there is a room for you to express who you are, you don't necessarily have to stick to a template that somebody has created, right? So a capsule wardrobe doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have this basic white tee, you need to have a denim, you need to have a trouser. Although the intent of a capsule wardrobe is great. I really like the fact that it means that keeping minimal pieces, trying to
not buying a lot of stuff.
Not buying a lot of stuff. And then how do you style it in multiple ways? While I love the intent of it, I think chasing the idea of building a functional or a timeless wardrobe is way more better than thinking that, oh, somebody told me that this is what a capsule wardrobe needs to have and that's what I'll collect. Let's say you're somebody who never wears a white t-shirt, so that template already doesn't work for you, right?
Yeah.
So if you're chasing the idea of building a functional wardrobe, I would say think about your lifestyle, who you are as a person, where you want to be, and how do you want to be perceived as. So if you can just jot down a few keywords that can, you know, summarize all of this for you, it'll give you a sense of, okay, this is probably the direction I want to take for my wardrobe. So for example, let's say you're somebody who's an adventure enthusiast and you want to, you're probably in tech space. How do you dress up in a way that you're not looking very corporate-y, but also like bring a sense of your personality that's outside of your professional life? So in that sense, think of how can I build my wardrobe. So I would say the direction that you can take is, firstly, understand what are the necessary pieces that you need to have to show up in your professional life, which could be like 2 casual jackets or a blazer, definitely one tailored suit. That's definitely tailor-made, measured, and then tailor-made, and 2 to 4 t-shirts and polos. Definitely one classic blue denim, something that's medium wash, I would say, and chinos if you're a fan of it. But it's always better to collect tailored trousers or a suit pants, which is way more versatile, and it can be styled in multiple ways. So yeah, and then a bunch of button-down shirts maybe. So this is of course like a core system for your wardrobe, but how do you add your personality to it, right? So there is probably an adventure side of it, which is maybe if you wear like a monotone look, a black shirt and a black pant, maybe adding a bright yellow sock, which is subtly there, but it's not seen, it's not on people's face. Wearing a button-down shirt, slightly rolling up your sleeve, and then wearing a field watch, you know, like not something that's a classic watch. So that gives subtle hints of who you are as a person outside of your professional life. And that's not something people can imitate. So I think thinking of your wardrobe as functional or timeless is way more important than chasing the idea of building a capsule wardrobe.
Yeah, interesting. Let's take a couple more examples. Let's say I'm like a college student and I end up going to a lot of events in college. I probably go with my friends outside. How should I be dressing? What should be my thought process?
Pretty much the same as what I said. It completely depends on your lifestyle, and probably if you can outline the direction that you want to take, as in, let's say I'm a college student, but maybe I'm I'm somebody who's inclined towards art and I want to take art as my career. So adding certain elements of a playfulness to your wardrobe, or if your art could be something very sophisticated, right? You could play with accessories. How would you style those accessories? Maybe interesting shoes. So of course, there's a lot of style guides, and people have spoken explicitly about a strong wardrobe system that you can follow within like formulas of these many number of shirts, pants, etc. But the thing that you can chase is probably understanding what are the key details or subtle elements that you can add to your wardrobe that can make you feel more you. And that's also something that will be relevant 5 years down the line. Yeah.
Interesting. And let's say I'm like someone who just got my job in Bangalore or in Mumbai, and I want to have some stuff to wear for office, and then also some stuff to wear for like evening parties or get-togethers, stuff like that. How should I dress up then?
So yeah, definitely. I think this is where the functional wardrobe concept comes handy, because you've then started collecting pieces that are more versatile. So something that you wore to office, for example, a button-down shirt, right? If you wore it, rather than just throwing on a denim, if you wore it with a tailored trouser or a suit pant, now that is already sophisticated enough for you to then change probably subtle things like change your shoes and then walk straight into the party. So things like this, where you can change the function of a garment to suit your lifestyle, is the way to go about it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. The next question is, what are the best colors that every man must own? Especially in India, which has a lot of like brown tones.
Yeah.
How should I decide what colors will look best on me?
Okay, theoretically speaking, I do talk a lot about color theories. I mean, we've all studied in school, primary colors, secondary colors, the color wheel, etc. As much as they all do make sense, it's not just rainbow colors. It has something to do with the contrast levels of your skin and how well a color will complement you. But to speak more generically, based on like brown skin tones, I would say that a lot of people are influenced by the old money vibe and say that, neutral colors. It makes sense because
background.
Yes. It does make sense because it's not coming from the concept of old money, but naturally from the longer times, and especially from, if you see people who are dressed in the past, even before old money was even a thing, we have such a beautiful skin tone, different shades of brown, that it naturally, the neutral colors, which is beiges, ivories, tan or brown, things like this naturally complement our skin, and it definitely makes us look more fresh.
More chic.
More chic, yes. So that color palette has of course worked, and it is going to continue to work for us. But what I feel like is very underrated is these so-called luxury colors, which is deep maroons, rust, burnt orange, dark greens and navies. I think it looks so premium on our skin tone, and a lot of men don't shy away from wearing these colors. So it's definitely going to work for our advantage because of our skin tone. So I would say that those colors will definitely add more sophistication to your wardrobe.
Very cool. You just touched upon old money, right? So for people who don't know or not aware, what is the old money aesthetic and why has it become the new trend?
Okay. So yes, a lot of people have been speaking about old money. And I think the concept has been turned around quite a bit, and people have made their own assumptions or justification to what old money is exactly. From a design perspective, it's very subjective to say this is what I think of old money. But what I've been seeing and what I personally believe is old money trend is something that was probably started or made more sense when it started from the European side of the world, where a lot of sharp tailoring, neutral colors, effortless style was promoted, and that then came towards the word of quiet luxury. While this was always there, it was predominant even in our history, the way our men in our country dressed. The way that it's now adapted to the modern world is something that's a unique perspective again. But instead of rather than going into a complete depth of what I feel or like what my perspective is as a designer, I feel like it's completely left up to you to take your own inspiration rather than copying something again. Like as if a lot of people have spoken about, if you just wear neutral colors, that's old money. Or if you wear something effortlessly, that's old money. All of these cannot be just put into words. It completely depends on how people take an inspiration and adapt it in their own style. So that's what I would definitely promote for you to do. That rather than just thinking neutral colors, tailored clean lines, tailored basics and stuff like that. Take certain parts of old money or whatever your inspiration is from that trend and then adapt it in your own personal style.
But what is exactly old money aesthetic? If you had to like outline 3-4 rules of it.
So old money aesthetic is pretty much like, I would say it was derived from a little bit of a history from wealthy communities of wealthy Italian or European communities, where when you want to dress a certain way and you don't want to look like this is how much wealth I have or this is how much money I own, but then toning everything down to just wearing something super premium.
Yeah.
Right. So high quality clothing, sharp tailoring, and then maybe wearing a linen shirt. Of course, it's like probably 100% linen, quite expensive, premium, but then wearing it like you don't care about the value of it, but I'm wearing it because it represents my wealth or what I have, right? It definitely talks about generational wealth. It also talks about how sprezzatura, I think you've heard this Italian phrase been thrown around a lot. Definitely talks about how you don't really have to put effort into dressing a certain way, but there is also a subtle sense of putting effort to look effortless.
Yeah.
So all of these words comprise old money aesthetic.
Got it. And people have taken that as a trend and they now want to appear old money under 1,000 rupees. And I think that's a very popular search. People search, how do I look old money? Spending 2,000, 3,000 rupees. And I think a lot of companies have tried to copy that, the ones that we have in India.
Yes.
But they often forget the idea that the whole concept is flawed for most people, because the idea is that it comes from generational wealth.
Absolutely.
Wealth that is passed down to people from generations. So they automatically want to hide that. And the idea is that people that belong from that heritage, they're like, I'm so rich, I don't even want to show you how rich I am. So I'll just dress like that.
Exactly.
Which is more like toned down, sophisticated, but you just won't know. Like this t-shirt at the back is like a H&M t-shirt, but this could very well be like a Brunello Cucinelli t-shirt, $400, but you would not know.
Exactly.
And someone would be dressing that up versus this is like a $10 t-shirt from H&M, it's 500 rupees.
Exactly. And I think when certain trend is like exaggerated way more than it is, then it becomes performative rather than being like you naturally adapted it.
Yeah.
So instead of forcing yourself into, everybody's wearing old money and these are the keywords that derive this trend, so I'm going to start wearing these colors.
Yeah.
I think just taking inspiration. Okay, are you inspired from the sharp tailoring? Then get your clothes tailored the way that you like to be, presenting yourself.
Right.
So I think that's a nice way to adapt a trend.
Very cool. Okay, so we were about to, ideally I thought I'll talk about this later, but we touched the old money topic here itself. Yeah. But okay, how do I build my wardrobe on a tight budget? Let's say that I just started earning, I want to look presentable. Probably I have like a budget of 5,000 to 10,000 rupees to build my like basic wardrobe that I can keep repeating over and over again. Of course, I'm going to office, I'm meeting people. I don't want to look the same, but I also want diversity in the way I present myself.
Okay. Let's say like you gave me the budget of 5,000 to 10,000. I would say the best thing to do is firstly get at least 1 or 2 trousers of yours tailored. It's always nice when you know how to balance your proportions. So instead of going...
I think let's talk about that, the body types, before we talk about why to get it tailored.
Okay, so I feel like understanding your body proportions and how to balance it is way more important than sticking to the body type rules. Of course, getting an understanding of the basics of, okay, I fall into a rectangle body shape or an inverted triangle body shape is important, and it's practical, of course. But then knowing how do I balance it. Over the years, your body might change, right? You might be somebody who's very skinny now, you're going through a transformation, and then you'll probably bulk up a little bit. But if you understand how to balance your proportions, that'll be way more interesting than just, sticking to certain templates that have worked for other body types. So what I would say is, for example, if you're somebody who has broader shoulders and leaner legs, the main attention will be your shoulders. But if you are feeling insecure about how lean your legs are, trying to find a slim straight pant versus a skinny fit pant will then balance your shoulders and make your eye flow from top to bottom, and then it look more cohesive. If you're somebody who has broader legs but like smaller shoulders, try wearing structured outfits, which probably has like shoulder pads, like a casual blazer, or even layering for that matter will help you, because then it creates a straight line and it looks more appealing and flattering than if only a certain part of your body is more highlighted than the other.
Yeah. I think you were talking about how do I build a wardrobe on a tight budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Going
so
back to that
then-
question.
Yeah. So I think clarity is definitely important. If you already, like I said, if you already understand certain keywords about what your current style is and where you want to head, then it then gives you a little bit of clarity. Is okay, I want to start wearing a lot more button-down shirts, or if I want to start investing on better trousers, I would say within the 5,000 to 10,000 budget, it definitely is a good thing. You can never go wrong by getting something tailored. Of course, if you find a wrong tailor, then things could go out of hand. But if you can just try and test out 1 or 2 trousers that are tailored, that'll be way more versatile. It'll look more polished, which can then be worn with t-shirts, polos, or shirts. So that's a part of that 5 or 10,000 budget. But you can also start incorporating button-down shirts. Definitely. And something in the colors that I mentioned, maybe a little out of the box, than going for, if you already have like whites, blacks, trying a little bit out of the box, which is maroons, greens, and rust. Colors work on Indian skin tone, so that's a good investment. Maybe having one jacket, which is, I would say a linen jacket would be a great choice, because it then can be worn for like a beach, resort, party, or whatever, and also be styled for a slightly formal event as well if you pair it with a nice shirt and a bottom. So these are the key things that you can start investing in.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, this is a very important question. How do I build my personal signature style look?
Okay.
I think you've touched a bit about that before,
Right.
but
Yes.
what are the 3-4 pillars of building my own signature style?
Yes.
Like, a friend of mine went to his office and he was wearing like a quarter zip. And so he went to the office and his colleague was like, hey, you're dressed like Ishan Sharma. And he was telling me that the situation, and that was insane for me, because yes, I do wear quarter zips, but I don't wear them like all the time.
Right.
But I do enjoy wearing them.
Okay.
I think that has become like my
Signature.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So I think signature comes from when you wear a certain element repeatedly. So if somebody, for example, I can give you my own example, and it can apply for both men and women. I am somebody who is always trying to incorporate Indian elements with Western outfits. Like maybe this outfit that I'm wearing now, it's like an athleisure inspired outfit, but I have tried to incorporate like
the sari designs on the sides,
on the sleeve, right? So I feel like I want to keep this as my signature look. But how do I incorporate it in my daily wardrobe? Is that not necessary that I do this for all my outfits, but maybe I could be wearing a simple monochrome look with a t-shirt and a pant, but just wearing some traditional earrings with it, accessories. When it comes to men, if you want to repeat a certain type of a ring, maybe it's a passed on ring from your grandfather, and that's a part of your personality now. And if you wear it repeatedly, it's a part of your outfit, right? It could be rings, it could be a certain perfume. Perfumes have a great power, and it creates a remembrance value of somebody, right? You remember people for the way that they smelled, or like a certain fragrance, right?
There was a very viral reel about Shah Rukh Khan and how he smells. So there are like 2 perfumes that he like mixes and matches. And then everyone just loves it.
Right. See, that's very interesting, right? And I think it's very practical, because I now remember how my grandmother used to smell, because we all have certain smells that we associate people with. So that's an interesting way that you can find your signature. Of course, there's a lot of ideas I can provide with how you can, make something your signature look, but really understanding what is that one repeated element that I want to keep uniform across my looks, right? And it's simple when it comes down to accessories, because that can be styled in multiple ways, irrespective of the outfit that you're wearing. But if you're somebody who's always loved wearing leather jackets, how do you style it in different ways but keep that significant throughout however you dress it, is what makes a signature look.
Yeah, I feel like people should watch that reel of yours in which you were going to an event and you had like a very long oversized coat, like a black suit, blazer, and then you like had like a belt that you used, and that was like really unique for me to just see. And that was a really cool idea.
Thank you. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so few high quality pieces versus a lot of cheap clothes. What should someone choose? Like if I have a lot of cheap clothes, I'll just get multiple outfits out of that, and probably I'll wear them once or twice and then I'll be done with it.
Right.
And because I go out a lot, let's say if someone goes out a lot for meetings and all, it works for them. But versus having like a few high quality, probably expensive pieces, what should we go with?
I think if you're somebody who's determined to find your personal style, investing in pieces which are high quality is way more better than easily buying cheap clothes. Let me tell you why. Because cheap clothes are immediately shown through the way that they drape around your body. For example, let's say you picked up a t-shirt which is 200 rupees. The way that the t-shirt would have been constructed for that being sold for 200 rupees is pretty obvious why it doesn't flatter you. Because probably there are seams ripping from the sleeve. Like the quality of the seams are not
stitching is not that great.
Yeah, stitching is not that great. If it's a cheap quality knit, sometimes the shirt is even distorted. It's not even in the same line, right? So now if you're wearing an expensive or good trousers or boots, your look is completely thrown off because you're wearing one t-shirt that is not of great quality. So if you're able to build a strong core for your wardrobe with functional pieces which are good quality, that will be relevant and that can be styled in multiple ways through at least 3 to 4 years. And it's always nice to gradually add things to that core system that you've built, and that's going to go way more farther than how cheap products and wearing it once or twice will.
Yeah, I think you touched a bit upon like cheaper clothes and how they look, but if you had to outline the top 3 signs that this clothing is cheap,
Right.
the way it is produced, how can I tell that by just looking at it?
So one thing that you can't really tell is when you shop online. Sometimes pictures are deceiving. Something might look great quality, but when it ends up in your door, you can tell that the quality
That happens a lot.
Right? So I'm somebody who really enjoys shopping in person. And if you're somebody who at least finds it tolerating to go shop for yourself and you like it and enjoy it, feel is one thing that will give you an understanding of whether a product is good or not. If it feels good in your hand, that's a first indication. But of course, the second indication is when you try it on and you feel great. Understanding when you lift your hands, move around, your fabric and the way that the clothes fit on you should move with you. It should not restrict you. Right? When your shirt is pulling in your underarms or if it's pulling in the stomach area, then that's an understanding that the construction or the pattern making of the shirt doesn't suit your body type or it's not made for the quality standards. So that's one thing. And the next thing is understanding how, you don't necessarily have to be a perfectionist, but if you can just pay close attention to how the seams are finished. Try to flip your t-shirt upside down and see if the seams are lined in the right way, if there are threads coming out in certain areas and things like that. So the construction will definitely give you the second hint.
Yeah.
And the third thing is probably defined when you wash it once or twice. But if you want to make the decision of buying the right product, even before it goes to the wash or if it's in your wardrobe, I think understanding when you try it on in the trial room, is the shirt falling and draping around your body in a flattering way rather than a cheap knit that is looking stretched out in one area and not too stretched out in the others. That will be a great indicator.
Interesting. What is one item men should stop buying immediately? Skinny jeans. I think we got this question.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people have already said that, so I don't want to repeat myself. Skinny jeans, yes. But I think people should stop buying glossy leather shoes or glossy formal shoes because if you see most of our clothes that we wear day-to-day life is mostly matte, whether it's cotton or other blends, whatever that is. And suddenly if you put on shoes that are...
The penny
glossy,
loafers and the Oxfords. And
anything could be. If you see that the shiny shoes which have like a really nice lustrous look, it doesn't really go well with a lot of outfits. So that's one thing that people should definitely stop buying.
And what's wrong with the skinny jeans? Why the hate?
Do you want me to speak as a designer? Or
Go for it. Whatever you think is best.
Okay, as a designer, why I think it's not great, or it makes me wonder how it has worked in the past, because I can't unsee how men look way more better in like a regular fit or a relaxed fit compared to skinny fits. It's not that people wearing skinny fits are giving off a terrible look or anything as such, but it's way more appealing to see somebody when they have lines flowing straight, something that's not too body hugging, especially when it comes to legs, right? So speaking as a designer, I know that when something is like too restrictive, you can see that when somebody sits down wearing a skinny jeans, it'll be pulling in your knees. You're not comfortable.
It's also not comfortable. Yeah.
Exactly. You can sense it when you're not comfortable. You're adjusting and then you're getting up and sitting down again once in a while and things like that. So as a designer, that's why I think it's too restrictive. when it comes to skinny jeans. And when it comes to styling, I feel like there's far more opportunities for you to look very presentable and flattering when you wear something more relaxed. I'm not a very great promoter of everybody wearing loose fits or extra baggy pants, but as long as you're wearing something at least form fitted, like a slim straight pant, and
Regular fit.
a regular
Slim.
fit pant rather than a rather than a skinny fit pant, that makes everything look a little more polished than how it would otherwise.
Very cool. Okay, so what's the difference of me styling for summer versus styling for winter?
Okay, so styling for, I mean, it's
I think winters are not as big of a deal in India, but let's say we're talking about the North India side.
right. So I think having your wardrobe catered to an all-season wear is better than sticking to a specific season. Of course, it's practical when your summer wardrobe can be carried to your winter wardrobe, but then just some additions made to your winter wardrobe is better. So when it comes to summer, I would say lightweight, breathable fabrics, maybe some more bright and bold colors, prints that are a little more playful will be more relevant. And moving to winters, if you can keep a little bit more solid, but then play with textures, patterns on your jackets or blazers, and interesting socks, because you're probably wearing a lot of boots and things like that, will be interesting to have like a differentiation between your summer and winter wardrobe.
Got it. So we'll talk more about the boots and the shoes part in some time.
Yeah.
But okay, how do I dress elegantly if I am overweight or if I'm skinny? A lot of people ask this question.
Right.
People see the mannequin and it looks great on that, but then as soon as they put it on, it's
Right.
not fitting them. They're not feeling confident in that.
Yeah. So again, I think the key part here is to understand how do you balance your proportions, right? Of course, when it comes to somebody who's more on the healthy side, it depends on what your height is. If you're tall and a little more healthy, then how do you balance your height and also the proportions? And when you're somebody who's short and a little more on the healthy side, it's different. But generally speaking, if you can understand that if you have, like, let's say belly fat, if you're adding a little bit more structure that will distract your eye from somebody focusing your belly area, that will give you more confidence because they're not looking at your stomach or pointing out things that already make you feel insecure. So for example, let's say you start adding a little bit more layers to your wardrobe, adding vertical lines, because it then draws your attention to your height rather than the width of your body.
You have no idea. I have so many like horizontal line t-shirts when
Right.
I was a kid, and that definitely made me look shorter.
Exactly, right? So all of this like geometry or lines somehow like plays a role in how it drapes around your body, and then it creates contours and shapes. So yeah, adding vertical lines will be a great way to look at it. And also like monochrome looks. If you can wear same color on the top and the bottom, or at least same color families, it then just makes you look like a linear line than focusing on specific parts of your body.
Yeah.
So that's for the people who are on the healthy side. But when we're speaking about people who are on the skinny or slim side, layering again acts as an advantage, because think of wearing light colors closer to your body and dark colors as your layers, because it creates depth and it adds to the volume of your body as well. So it creates more room. And the next thing again is adding more. You can definitely play now with like types of patterns and prints that you wear. Maybe wear shirts which have smaller prints and patterns, and also think about how specifically you can use texture, right? Certain knitted polos have that because they're heavy and they're more structured. It gives you a little bit more volume.
Yeah.
So that kind of adds to your overall width as well. So that's how you can.
We'll talk a bit more about polos, but you mentioned this word called monochrome, right? What are monochrome outfits and why do they look so elegant, and why should people try them out?
So monochrome is nothing but wearing the same color on the top and the bottom, or in your overall look. It can also be looked at in the way that you wear a same color and the shades of that particular color. So yeah, wearing a different shade of brown on the top and different at the bottom also sometimes works very well. Why it looks really good is because when you have a clean canvas, the shoes or the accessories that you're wearing also looks very interesting, and it looks more flattering because there's not a lot of things going on. It's not making the outfit look busy. It just gives you a clean look, and it's visually more appealing and definitely makes you look more sharper.
Got it. And what is wrong with me wearing a lot of colors. Let's
There's
say I'm wearing like a red t-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm wearing like a blue jacket on that, and then I'm wearing like a, I don't know, green bottoms
Yeah.
with that. What's wrong with that?
There's absolutely nothing wrong as long as you know how to carry those colors, right? So if you're somebody who definitely likes a lot of bright and loud colors, try to incorporate that in understanding whether it works for the situation you are in, whether you're going to see hanging out with your friends on a weekend versus are you going to see some people for a business meeting. So understanding whether those colors suit the occasion is very important. But if you want to go crazy as the colors that you mentioned, red t-shirt, blue jacket and green something, then just understanding if you can pull those colors together with more confidence and body language, there's absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
What are the best shirt and pant combos for dark skinned guys? If you can give some outfit ideas for them.
Yeah, so I think ivory, beige, and neutral tones have, of course, worked very well on dark-skinned people. I think a lot of people don't believe this when I say it. It's certain colors like rust, mustard, burnt orange, or a deep red. These are the colors that look really good on dark-skinned people. It's very underrated because a lot of people find it challenging to wear colors like this.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you pair these colors with a lot more neutral things on the bottom and maybe add a few accessories, those colors will look really sharp because the contrast is great on dark-skinned people.
Yeah, we'll actually go to the shop and show you some examples as people are watching this.
Yeah.
But let's get on to the clothing items. I think this is going to be like a very quick rapid fire for all the questions that I have. Very informative for people who are watching this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are the best shirts that I should buy? You can talk about the material, cotton, linen, styling, button down patterns, etc. The best shirts to buy for men.
Got it. So I think button downs, definitely premium quality button downs.
What is a button down?
So a button down is pretty much a full sleeve shirt. But when you have when you have those small buttons on your collar and then you either wear it with the button or choose not to wear it, this is pretty much what a button down shirt is. So it's constructed in a way that it's not very formal or not too casual. So the way that it will probably fit you is something that can be more functional and versatile.
This is not a button down shirt. This is a normal one. Yeah.
I mean, that's not a typical definition of a button-down shirt, but it can still classify under the same thing.
Got it.
If you're thinking of the type of fabric, I would say linens and cottons, of course, it's a no-brainer. But certain qualities, especially when polyester is blended with some amount of lycra, it's definitely not a great thing to invest in polyester, but sometimes it does create wonders in the way that it fits you, in the way that it drapes around your body and how it presents itself. Because a lot of shirts that are wrinkle-free, all of them have some amount of polyester and lycra in them, which can make you look more presentable without putting a lot of effort into steaming them, ironing them every now and then. So that's a great addition as well.
A lot of people buy these, check shirts, pattern shirts. Is that a good idea for men?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the decision making of what would be the right type of checks or patterns, I think understanding if you are somebody who's on the shorter and more on the broader side, then large patterns is not a right choice. You probably have to stick to smaller patterns and smaller checks. But if you are somebody who has broad shoulders, athletic body and quite built, and if you're wearing these shirts as layers, let's say, then the bigger prints and patterns will be more relevant. Definitely be mindful of the size of the patterns that you're picking, and if the color of the patterns are too loud or too subtle, and if it really suits your lifestyle.
Yeah, you can actually talk about the colors as well. So the color of the shirts that I'm buying.
Okay, sure. When it comes to colors, I think everybody will already have like whites, beiges, and navies. So I don't want to touch upon that, which is definitely an essential in everybody's wardrobe. But if you want to go a little bit out of the box, maybe if you try like mauve, which is like a light pink, it's a little bit interesting than a typical. It's a little more interesting.
Yeah, I had that one in the wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting color. It makes you look more fresh and makes the skin look a little more healthy. Of course, it also depends on what shade of a pink we're talking about, because some shades tend to wash you out. Think of greens maybe. Of course, it can be more on the neutral side of a green. It's not that bright leaf green, but more on like a mint green or a lemon yellow. These are the colors that can really work for your wardrobe as well.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, let's talk about trousers, pants, and jeans. If I'm a man looking to buy them, what are the top 5, trousers to buy?
Okay, definitely denim. I keep saying this to my clients that it's always better to have a medium wash blue denim rather than having a funnily shaded pant, shaded denim.
Yeah.
Also
Which is torn off like
torn
that.
off.
That
and
doesn't
then-
look good.
Yeah, exactly. It all like even if you want to wear it casually with just a t-shirt, I don't know, something about the fades. It doesn't make you look mature and like give you a sense of power or authority. So being mindful about the type of fade it has is also important. But if you can definitely pick up a medium wash blue denim which doesn't have any fades or rips, that's a great thing to start with. Maybe
And the
one-
fit would be?
a regular or a slim straight fit. If you want to wear denims as more of a casual wear, then you can go slightly more on the loose or the baggy side.
Yeah.
But I would say avoid buying denims which are more on the cargo style because it just becomes a lot more chunky and it gives off a very playful look. I would say another great addition is a good quality chino. Colors like beige, dark gray, or deep olive is also a good, a different color for your wardrobe. One tailored trouser for sure. Another thing would be a relaxed loungewear, not something that's like a cotton jogger, which will probably fade off after 2 to 3 washes and starts looking more droopy, but invest in something that has like poly lycra blends, which look more presentable and they give you the structure, but also the comfort because it has a lot of stretch. And a suit pant for sure. Even if you're trying to wear a suit pant with just a basic t-shirt, it definitely has the capacity to make you look more sophisticated or casual whenever required.
How do I style a polo? And why is polo the new trend? Like I just see so many people. I myself have so many polos.
Yes. I personally like polos because I think it's a proper middle ground when you don't want to look too dressed up, nor do you want to look too casual. So a polo kind of elevates your look a little bit and makes you look more polished. So being mindful of the type of polos we're also talking about. Of course, there's like the basic polos which are pretty much in like the normal knits, but then there's also like textured polos, there's knitted polos, and there's also printed polos. So maybe you can, if you're somebody who definitely likes polos and find it comfortable, then play around with what are the different types of polos you can own as well.
The mesh knit, the waffle knit types of
Exactly.
polos, those look very appealing.
Yeah.
And if I had to buy like let's say 3 to 5 polos for my wardrobe, what should those be in colors?
I would say avoid a crisp white, but rather get an off-white or
I think the one that we have at the back.
Exactly. So crisp white, I don't know, it kind of feels a little too bright always, and it doesn't really complement our Indian skin tones.
Yeah.
So an off-white or an ivory, like I said, grey, dark blue, and maybe a playful color, like again, mauve or a light blue.
I love the maroon polo that I
Maroon,
have.
exactly.
It looks really
So,
good.
Yeah, maroon, exactly, and deep rust or a dark green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that I've bought in my wardrobe are those full sleeve polos.
Right.
So I can like pull the sleeves back and they just look a lot better than just the regular
Absolutely.
polos.
Yeah.
Okay. Is layering a must for men? And this could be for any season.
Right.
Do I really need to have like a jacket on? And how should I think about it?
I wouldn't say it's a must, but it's definitely a good addition to your personal style, right? So of course, layering sometimes acts as a nice way to create illusions to how your body looks, whether if a healthy person is trying to layer because they want to look a lot more slimmer versus a skinny person is wearing layers because they want to add volume. Thinking of layers as a way to create an interesting element or enhancing the character of your outfit is a nice way to look at it.
What are the best jackets and overshirts I should own as a man?
Okay. I would say shacket for sure because that can be worn as a button down or it can also be thrown on a t-shirt. A printed jacket will be interesting addition to your wardrobe because it kind of elevates your normal.
Adds personality.
Adds personality, exactly. A third one could be a suede jacket. It can be something in like a dark brown or a suede. Maybe you can also try embroidery jackets because it's something, it acts as a middle ground between an ethnic look or a Western look, depending on how you style it. But it can also add a sense of personality to your overall look.
And what do you think of the leather jacket? The rugged, masculine leather jacket.
Right. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but if that's something that you've carried, like you've you've worn for a while, or if that's something that you want to incorporate in your wardrobe, the easiest way to start with it is probably owning a tan brown or a black jacket. Be mindful of the fact that it's not too glossy or shiny, but something more on the subtle side, not something that has a lot of pockets and zippers. Simple, clean, and that should be it.
Yeah. Quarter zips. Let's talk about the most trending, piece that you can buy. Why are quarter zips great, and which quarter zips should I buy as a man?
Quarter zips are my personal favorites. I always recommend it for my clients because I think a lot of men who are not necessarily in the lifestyle of where they really need to dress up to show up somewhere, tend to show up to certain places in hoodies or just a pullovers, right? So for those type of men or anybody else as well, if you want to not look too dressed up but also not want to show up in a hoodie or a pullover, quarter zip ups are really great because it adds a little bit of a polish to your overall look. The type of quarter zip ups that you have to invest in is probably a deep maroon would be great, brown as well, but you can also look at textures, cable knits or certain type of knits that they are like a waffle knit and things like that. I've also started seeing a lot of printed quarter zip ups, so that's also something that you can add to your
Yeah, I feel like, so my personality, what I do every single day is I'm meeting a lot of companies, clients, and I'm young as well. So I don't want to give off that, navy shirt and like a blue blazer outfit. I don't want to wear that. That's what like the 40s-year-olds wear. But I want to still look presentable and polished, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I wear a lot of like different quarter zips. Maybe it could be like a black one.
Yeah.
I have like a navy blue one, the beige one, and it just looks a lot better, I think.
Yeah.
It's also very easy to just pull it on and just go wherever. Yeah. Okay, great. What are the 3 to 5 suits that every man should own?
Okay. So I would talk about 3 important suits that everybody can have. One can be a lightweight suit, something that's a little more breathable and easy, probably something that'll be easy for you to travel with. It could be a linen suit. That's a great addition to your wardrobe. Next could be a proper, well-tailored suit, which can be used in like more important occasions. Definitely a single-breasted over a double-breasted. And third can be a blazer that's a little more, that shows a little more playful side of you. Could be a printed suit, could be a patterned suit as well, subtle textures over it. That can be a good addition.
This, I think a lot of people would want to know. How do I pick the perfect suit for myself? The first feature is the fitting of the suit.
So I think the first indication is to know how your shoulders fit. If your shoulders have clean padding that wraps around your shoulder, gives you that kind of sharp and structured look, that's the first indication. Just make sure that it's not pulling or creating any wrinkles in unnecessary areas. It also has to contour your body rather than hanging too loose or fitting too tight.
Got it. The lapels.
Okay.
There are 2 versions of it, the notch lapel and the peaked lapel.
Yeah, notch, peak, and sometimes even... sorry, there's another label.
The one that you have in the tuxedo.
Shawl collar, yes.
Yeah.
So peak label is great because it creates because it's so sharp and well tailored, it creates a sense of like authority or like gives you more structure and makes you look sharp.
It's like a V-shaped.
V-shaped, exactly. And the notch lapel and shawl lapel will be a little more on the casual side and it can be used for casual blazer.
Okay, should I go for a single-breasted or a double-breasted blazer?
Both are great additions to your wardrobe, but a single-breasted would look more casual and it's more versatile because you can style it in different occasions. A double-breasted is a little more on a polished side, so definitely more for like a very important business meeting, or if that's your wedding, or somebody close, or if somebody close to you is getting married, a double-breasted suit will be better.
Got it. Let's talk about the colors. What colors should I pick?
Okay. I think a lot of men have already worn a lot of navies and blacks, but I think I've started to see a lot of men looking great with dark browns and deep greens. Maroons are also interesting, but it also becomes very tricky to style it, and it also depends on the skin tone. But I think a dark brown, which is preferably in a fabric that's more like a wool or a polyester blend fabric, which is more premium, will look great.
Got it. And the pattern of the suit, like you have stripes, then you have like the tweed versions of it. What should I choose?
So I would say go when you're starting off with the suit, go with something that's a solid fabric. It doesn't necessarily want you don't necessarily want the texture of it to pop off. But as you're starting to build your collection, playing with stripes is interesting, but also being mindful of how thick or thin the stripes are. Do you want them to be on the face, or do you want them to be super subtle that only when you come close to somebody you can see it?
Yeah.
So being mindful of those type of things is important.
And lastly, the material of the suit.
Wool is a no-brainer. It's breathable, it's comfortable, and it works across seasons. Beyond that, if you want to experiment, linen is great, but it could probably be best for summers. You can also try a couple of, there is no conventional way of looking at it. You can also try, and in my brand as well, I experiment with a lot of upcycling a sari into a blazer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting way of, expanding your collection.
And I think you briefly mentioned about getting every suit tailor-made.
Yes.
Why should I not just go to a Zara or H&M and buy a ready-made suit? Why do I need to make it?
Because I think we all have different shapes, and not one person has the same characteristics as others. Of course, when you're buying something off the racks, it's made for a more standardized measurement. But if you want the suit to fit the, contour your body and really bring off your features, then I think measuring a suit would be better, because then you know that I have broad shoulders and that's what I want to accentuate, or versus I have a little bit of a tummy and that's what I want to cover through the suit. So that is when a tailor or a master who's skilled can, can create a suit for you that can create an illusion of how your overall outfit fits you.
Yeah. The most popular fashion brands in India are like Zara, H&M and Uniqlo. What should I buy from which company?
Okay. Zara for trousers, because they have very interesting cuts and shapes that they always experiment with. H&M for shirts, because they're also into upcycling. So they come up with like really good combinations of fibers and materials for the shirt. And Uniqlo for all things essential, because they're great for loungewear, basics, and also formal wear as well.
Yeah. I love their basic Supima cotton t-shirt.
Yes.
And that is like
Super
a must buy.
comfortable.
Yeah. Okay. Let's rank all the most popular brands in India, right? So you have the S tier. Then you have like very good, and then you have decent, and then you have like very bad.
Yeah.
So let's start with Zudio. Where would you keep them?
So Zudio I would keep between decent and bad, because some pieces in Zudio are extremely surprising sometimes, because like I wonder like, oh, was this made in Zudio? Versus there are also pieces that are extremely bad.
Yeah.
So there's no in between. So I would keep them somewhere
Inconsistent.
Yes.
Yeah. H&M.
Very good.
Zara.
Between S tier and very good.
Uniqlo.
S tier.
Max Fashion.
I would say good.
Pantaloons.
Between decent and
Bad.
bad. Yeah.
Got it. West Side.
West Side, good. Yeah.
Snitch.
I would say between decent and bad.
Rare Rabbit.
Very good and good.
And Mango.
Very good.
Have you heard of Red Tape?
Yes.
What do you think of that brand?
Decent.
Levi's.
Very good.
Vera Moda.
Good.
Jack and Jones.
Good as well.
Got it. Okay, I think we've covered pretty much everything about the clothing aspect of styling, but now let's talk about the other aspect, which is grooming and skincare.
Yeah.
What are the most important grooming habits every man should learn?
Okay. So I would definitely say that shower twice a day, especially if you're somebody who's very active in your lifestyle and also somebody who naturally tends to sweat a lot. It's not the matter of, oh, I just skip showering twice today, what's the big deal? But overall, it improves your hygiene, and the way that you smell and your body odor will also improve. Another good way is to be mindful of the fragrances that you're wearing. A lot of women have found it interesting, or usually like men, when woody, musky, or fresher, or like warm tones of fragrance. But yeah, definitely be mindful of this season as well. If you're somebody who likes to smell fruity or floral, think of the season as well. If you're wearing a floral scent in winter, it doesn't really come off really well, depending on the outfit as well. And then comes to keeping your nails clean. Also being very mindful of a bad breath, because you don't want people to remember that, oh, that's the guy who doesn't smell good, right? So these are the very essential things about grooming.
Got it. Beard versus clean shave. What should I prioritize on?
It completely
And what
depends.
looks attractive? you're the girl in the room.
Oh, okay. Personally speaking, I think I'm usually very inclined towards men who have beard, and not just the fact that they have beard, but somebody who's maintained it well, looks more cleaner, and present themselves well.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I think it completely depends on your face shape. If you're somebody who's confident to maintain a clean shape, that's great, good for you. But understanding, and also it's nice when you can try out some different looks. If you're somebody who's always had a clean shave, maybe growing out a little bit of hair and being patient until it actually grows out, and then getting your barber to shape it and make it suitable for your face, and then understanding if it works or doesn't work will be a nice way to look at it.
Right. No, I think a lot of people who don't have like the jawline or
Right.
this face structure is not like laid out like that, growing a beard makes sense for them.
Right.
All right. How do I smell great at all times as a man? I think you briefly touched about that, but if you had
Yes.
to give them like a guide, like a step-by-step process
Yeah.
for smelling great at all times. Doesn't have to be just perfume. Could also be like the body wash. all
Yes,
that.
absolutely. So I think hygiene comes before fragrances or what you do externally. So definitely, like I said, showering twice a day and wearing clean clothes. Sometimes, especially in rainy season, we tend to have our clothes still damp, but then you just put it on because you don't have an option. So try avoiding to not put on damp clothes, which might start tending to smell bad. Also, not wearing clothes that are not washed for after 2 or 3 times of use for sure. These are small things, but it definitely adds to your body odor and how you smell when you come close to some people. And then topping it up with the type of fragrances that you use. Of course, using moisturizers, which also have some amount of fragrance in it. All of this overall adds to how you smell good all the time.
What's your ultimate guide for shoes for men? How many pairs of shoes should I have, and what should those shoes be?
I think basing this decision on how your lifestyle is what is important. If you're somebody who tends to go to office 3 to 5 times a week, then investing in good pair of formal shoes like a Chelsea boot, penny loafers, a nice tan brown boots, lace-up boots, etc. would make a lot more sense. And of course, having 2 to 3 pairs of athletic shoes, probably to travel, workout, etc. would be a nice way to look at it. But if you're somebody who's more on the outdoors and have very less to do with like formal dressing, then invest in more shoes that are a little more playful, like a suede sneakers, an athletic shoe which is more functional rather than for example like a beige or a black sports shoe, which can be more versatile, doesn't have a lot of colors from the logos and the icons that are on the shoes,
Yeah.
which will make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I feel like I used to have this one on shoe, which was like black in color. And I
it
used to wear
works
that
well.
everywhere.
Yeah.
I would travel with it. I would hit the gym with it. I would just go for events
that's the
with
best
it.
part. And it also makes you, it gets you to become a little more comfortable and not wanting to shop more, which
Yeah.
is not great as well.
Okay. If I want to buy belts, how many belts should a man own, and which ones?
I would say 3 simple ways to look at it. One is a black belt, which has a rustic gold buckle or details. A tan brown belt, which works across all your outfits. And a belt which has a little bit more of a texture. It could be the way that the texture of the leather is looking like an animal skin, or it has subtle elements which have like the metal details that are on the buckle. So
Yeah.
one could be the interesting, and the 2 could be something that works across your wardrobe.
What do you think of clothing and belts which have like flashy like logos like Armani Exchange everywhere? AX, AX.
I need to take a deep breath before I have to explain that, but I absolutely hate it.
What does it tell to you? Like just the idea of looking at someone who has like flashy logos all over, like Hugo Boss
Yes.
written all over, Balmain in Paris.
Yes. So I think one thing I want to make it very clear is just by wearing expensive brands or logos and chasing the name of the brand, it doesn't immediately make you look well-dressed or make you look like you put effort into your clothing. Your clothes can definitely be expensive, but just because something is expensive, it can't portray your sense of worth, right? So those logos and labels kind of look more like you're trying too hard, and makes it look more performative because you now want to wear this brand or logo because you can afford it, rather than is that really your personal style?
Yeah.
do you really stand for what that brand stands for? So those things matter.
If I want to use watches in my outfits, how should I buy watches as a man? Which watches should I go for? The straps for it?
Right. So usually I think of like 4 specific watches for my clients. One is a steel watch, which is silver color, steel dial or a steel strap as well. One is a silver with a gold. If you've seen watches which have like a gold, which has a gold part in the center and the steel or the silver on either side, that'll be a classic watch which can go with warm shades of colors and also cool shades of colors in your wardrobe. Third one is a classic tan brown leather strap, which I think it'll work best if the dial is white in color. It's a little more casual and it works across all colors again. And third one can be, I'm not a great fan of smartwatch because it tends to look a little too mechanical, but of course it's very functional and practical in your day-to-day life. So just being mindful of what that strap talks about your personality, right? Then the question comes to, are you somebody who's a lot more playful, chirpy, and outspoken? Then definitely choose straps that are a little more vibrant. Or then go, if otherwise, then try to go for straps that are a little more muted down.
There is a rule that I should match my watches with my shoes and with my belt. Does that work all the time?
Absolutely, it does, because I think your outfit, the way that you put your outfit together in terms of color combination, can be whatever you want. But if your accessories look more cohesive, it then adds to how the colors are playing along. So you can obviously not wear a gold color shirt because your watch is gold, but the simplest way to make the metals or the elements in your wardrobe speak loud is matching it with other similar elements, which can then look more cohesive.
The leathers should match, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
Very cool. What are the accessories other than a watch that I can wear and look great?
Bracelets. I find it really nice when men are pairing a watch with a simple bracelet. It doesn't have to be beaded or colorful bracelets. It can be as simple as a gold metal bracelet or a silver metal bracelet. It's also interesting when you start incorporating some ties occasionally. If you are somebody who ends up wearing ties to office, then experimenting with different types of
Isn't ties too old fashioned?
It's not. I wouldn't say that.
I don't have a single tie right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've started we're deviated from wearing ties and how traditional formal dressing was. But if you're somebody who still wears ties and knows how to style them with the colors that you wear otherwise, the patterns and the prints on the ties will also be an interesting way. And occasionally, if you can wear caps, a sling bag, a premium looking leather bag for your laptops. And when you're traveling, try to travel with like a premium looking suitcase as well. I hate men carrying suitcases which have a bunch of stickers stuck on the top of the suitcase. So all of these are subtle indications to how your overall style looks.
Yeah, got it. Okay, I think one question we did not talk about is color combinations. I think we talked about like what color of t-shirts to get, trousers to get.
Yes.
What are the best attractive color combinations for men?
Okay.
I think my favorite ones is always styling the beige pant with either like a navy blue top, either like a shirt. It could also be like a jacket, or I use the maroon polo that I always wear with my beige pant a lot. So I think I wear that all the time.
Yes. I love the beiges as well, whether it's the shirts or the bottoms. If you're wearing beige as a shirt, browns and dark greens or dark grays will be nice for the bottoms. Another good combination would be the baby blue or the powder blue. You've seen a lot of men wearing these baby blue formal shirts these days, but then pairing that with a black or a deep gray would be great. Interesting combinations outside of what we've seen men wearing would be pairing different shades of brown together. A dark brown polo with like a lighter or more towards the beige side. That kind of a trouser would be a nice addition.
Yeah.
Also, I think greens is also a nice addition to your wardrobe. Color combinations, particularly with if you wear an ivory shirt with a dark green bottom, that's also an interesting color combination.
Very cool. And is there like a science to it? Like how many colors should my outfit have? Some people have too many. Some people have monochrome. Obviously, looks good.
Yes.
But what's a healthy balance?
A healthy balance is to have 2 or 3 colors at max. 2 colors because it's pretty straightforward, because we're always looking at somebody from, visually categorizing them towards torso and the bottom. So if your torso has one color, it's always okay to have another different color at the bottom. And also repeating this color across your accessories also works. But if you have to fit in 3 or 4 colors in your wardrobe, then how do you distribute those colors rather than making it too loud, right? So the third color can then be your accessory, which will be matched with the shoe that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Things like that. So 2 to 3 is a good balance.
Okay, you recently went to Italy. What did you observe? How were the men there dressing?
Very interesting, because as much as we keep hearing about Italian men's style, European style and all of that, what I saw there was more to do with how people choose their clothes. As much as we know a lot of Italian, like really good Italian brands that a lot of people wear, and we all fancy them here, what I noticed is that a lot of people there are not wearing loud logos or brands and presenting themselves in a way that the brand speaks for itself, rather than they're trying to pick clothes that fit them well. And even on a casual day, you see men wearing silhouettes that work across the day. So as like if you've traveled to Europe, you know that a lot of men have active lifestyle where you're walking throughout the day, you're going from point A to point B. So transitioning through the whole day wearing the same outfits was something that I observed, and they all look impeccably good even at the end of the day. And sharp tailoring. So even if somebody is wearing a casual linen shirt, the way that it fits them and contours them was really interesting to see. That I honestly didn't spot anybody wearing an ill-fitted linen shirt. Another thing I forgot is,
I think there was a S word that you were talking about it. Sprezzatura.
Sprezzatura, yes.
Sprezzatura.
Yes, exactly. So Sprezzatura is nothing but dressing effortlessly. But as much as it sounds like, oh, everybody should learn the art of dressing effortlessly, there's also an effort that goes into looking effortless, right? So there's a really nice way to do that, because then it comes down to, do you really care enough to put that kind of an effort into your dressing that almost looks like you didn't care?
Yeah. Got it. How do I tell if this clothing item is high quality?
You can definitely point out the way it's constructed, for sure. Feel of the fabric, certainly, because sometimes a fabric tends to look more structured than how it appears when it's just draped on a mannequin. So feeling the fabric will give you a hint of how does it work on my body? Does it feel comfortable? If it does feel comfortable in your hand, most likely that it'll be comfortable when you wear it. Third thing is the quality of the finishing, how the collar is finished, how the buttons are fixed. Sometimes there are very, very subtle details that we don't even happen to notice. As a designer, I can probably point out a few things, but if you see, sometimes certain shirts don't even have a buttonhole that's made from a machine. The way that the shirt is constructed, the buttonhole is created within creating gaps in the fabric. So these are some interesting elements. It might just look like a plain white shirt. Why do I have to spend 10,000 on it? But it's the smaller details which are very, very fine and minute that makes it worth the investment.
Yeah. Sindhu, I've bought a 400 rupees polo t-shirt, and I've also bought a 7,000 rupees polo t-shirt. What do you think is the difference between both of them?
See, a lot of times we keep wondering why, this is pretty much the same fabric, same style. At the end of the day, it's a polo. Why do I have to spend so much on it, right? But there's a lot of things that goes behind making a shirt. Of course, when it comes ethically made, sustainable, upcycled materials, you're already paying a lot for that. But then comes the construction of it. It's not as easy as, sitting in a factory where one worker is able to produce one polo in 10 or 15 minutes versus constructing a t-shirt where each seam is paid attention to, the way that the shirt is turned out and finished is paid attention to, the way the button is fixed, the way that the collar folds and falls on your neck. All of these things will really put a sense of worth to why the shirt is expensive or cheap.
Yeah, got it. Okay, let's do a rapid fire round at the end of it. What are the top 3 clothing items that every man should own?
A tailored trouser, a button-down shirt, and a premium knitted polo.
What's the biggest style myth men believe till date?
that the minute you follow trends, you look fashionable or stylish.
Sneakers or formal shoes? What should men invest in first?
Formal shoes.
What is one grooming habit that can change everything for a man?
Hygiene and the way you maintain your clothes.
Overdressed versus underdressed, which is worse?
Underdressed.
One mistake that instantly ruins an outfit.
Ignoring the fact that you need to iron your clothes.
Style tip that costs 0 rupees.
Awareness. Having being aware of what works for you and what not, and also slightly being curious, understanding and going beyond what you see influencers, stylists and celebrities wear and promote. Understanding and being curious of why will something look good on me and why won't something look good on me is very important.
Amazing. Have you seen the latest Marty Supreme movie?
No, I haven't. Not yet.
The type of suits that Timothy Chalamet is wearing, it is insane. The maroon the maroon suit that he's wearing is just so well put together. Like, it's set in the 1950s in New York.
Right.
But just love the way the movie has been created and the suit and the design of everything.
That's beautiful. I think I quickly took a look at how the suits looked, although I haven't watched the movie. I think we were chatting about it and I was very curious.
And the best part is the guy is broke. Like, though it makes no sense.
Right.
How is he wearing all of those suits?
Right. But see, it creates a sense of like an impression. How do you want people to look and feel?
He's definitely there to like wow the most richest person out there.
Yes.
Rockwell Inc. founder, so he dresses up the part.
Exactly.
He wants to step into Ritz-Carlton, so he dresses up like that.
Like, how do you want to be perceived?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
How do you want to be treated?
I think it's the best lesson of perception.
Yes.
But again, he has no money to go to Japan, but he has money for his tailor-made suits. Okay, I think that was the podcast. We covered so many, interesting questions. What's your one advice or one lesson to people who are still watching this video? What would you tell them?
I think it speaks volumes. If you're somebody who's very serious about building your personal style, the least you can do is to be curious. Learn basics about styling. Learn about how you can start building your wardrobe. Research on things. Be curious. And worst thing, invest in a stylist. If you've done at least one of these things, you're far more ahead of other men who are still feeling lost and clueless. And I think the best takeaway would be experiment, because there is no set rules. I can, as a stylist, tell you, hey, this is exactly what works for you. But until and unless you try out specific outfits, experiment why a loose fit would be better than a slim fit for you. Understanding different types of silhouettes is going to give you the best understanding and clarity to move forward towards the vision that you have to build your wardrobe.
Yeah. Have you tried using ChatGPT to improve your style?
Yes,
How does it work?
So there's obviously a huge difference between something that has a human touch versus something that's AI. I can probably look at you and say, hey, this is your body proportions. This is probably complimenting you or not. AI will certainly tell you that if you upload a picture of yourself and say that this is how you want to look. But understanding that if you're not feeling confident in a loose fit trousers, how do we make it work? Then tips like, get it tailored this way, shorten the length, tighten it here, or wear a silhouette that has shoulder pads, etc., are things that I can give you as a human versus AI will just keep building on the prompts that you give. So I think that's a clear difference between something that's human and not human.
What's your favorite actor that you think is the best dressed?
Ooh, I personally love Lewis Hamilton, the way that he dresses and carries his outfits. It's a little extraordinary most of the times, but I think he's always able to exude his confidence and the way that he carries these outfits, that even something that I wouldn't have thought of in my wildest dreams would look like, hey, that's something that I can try my clients to wear.
Yeah.
So it makes it more familiar, that it makes it feel like people can adapt it.
What do you think of Ranveer Singh's design, the type of clothes that he wears?
I think it definitely complements his personality, because he is that loud or outspoken as a person, as far as what we've seen on the screen. So it definitely complements his personality, but I don't know if it's something that everybody can pull off. Of course, you can take inspiration from certain elements that he wears repeatedly and then try to incorporate it in your own way.
All right, that was the podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. I am sure you learned a lot. If you have any questions, let me know below in the comment section. You can also reach out to Sindhu on her Instagram. The handle will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.